What an interesting presentation. Very interesting ideas, although um, to a degree, many of those ideas are also unscientific. To start off, you cited the Miller-Urey experiment of 1961. In case you didn't know, that experiment was proven a failure. Turns out those chemicals that they claimed to have made in a laboratory were already there at the very beginning. They did not have the technology in 1961 to detect some of those cells that were already there from right from the start. So don't come and give me that idea of the primordial soup being replicated in a lab. That's not true. Unless you can get water that is 100% pure and free from certain other life forms, well, that idea is very questionable. Haven't you heard of plankton, for that matter? And there are a lot of other bacteria as well. We know that the process of pasteurization doesn't eliminate all the bacteria. You guys yourself have mentioned it. And if it were true that it eliminated all the bacteria, that would prove that the very process by which uh, Miller and Urey claim to have baked some primitive amino acids proved to be flawed by science in the fact of pasteurization. So that Hockney, read up on your science. Stanley Miller, who was the one who made that claim, died a bitter old man because his theory was disproven. And a few who, what do we call it, pseudoscientists who don't want to accept that they were wrong with proposing that, apparently seem to have censored that. But the soup in the laboratory from 1961 has proven a failure as it is. Those chemicals were already there in the first place. Another thing where you make a big mistake is when you say you don't need to see it to be able to to hold it as true and to believe in it. That is a bunch of crockpot right there. That is no better than what those of us who believe in a divinity, whatever you want to call that divinity, believe. You hold your so-called overwhelming evidence for evolution. That all it takes is somebody else who is religious-minded, but yet also scientific-minded, which, contrary to what you think, there are those of us who do have both mentalities. Religion and science do not contradict themselves. Actually, there are a lot of scientific facts in the Bible that many scientists are barely beginning to discover right now. But that's a case for another show. Right now I'm just disproving your comments. We cannot have an astrologer claim, oh, Aries, the sun is going through this constellation, and then hence Aries is going to is going to have this, and it happens. Uh, I'm speaking hypothetically. Of course, that's ridiculous. But they would take that as evidence. They didn't see the correct, direct implications, but they assume it and are very convinced by the so-called evidence of it. Your argument is no better than the concept of spontaneous generation, which was very abundant in the 17th century. Let's see, they believed that rotting meat developed into maggots. They never did see the maggots developing from the meat, but the evidence was there. The piece of rotting meat was there. The maggots were there. Evidence was there. They also believe that dirty hay developed into baby mice. Let's see, they didn't actually see it happen, but they had the hay right there, and they had baby mice on top of the hay, while the mother mouse had run off, scurried over somewhere looking for food. So then they saw the baby mice, they didn't see the mother mouse, so they said, dirty hay does evolve into baby mice. Among many other things we now know are ridiculous. But they had their evidence there. As it turns out, as we learn more and more about science, we found that those evidences are wrong. Reddy made his experiment where he found that the way the maggots get to the piece of rotting meat was through flies laying their eggs. It was also found out that certain mice prefer to make their nests in muddy straw. Much the same way, that concoction of 1961 is unscientific, and this claim of I don't need to see it happen is unscientific as well. The true scientific method indicates that it needs to be able to be replicated to the point. It has to be closely measured. Control groups and variables need to be closely measured, and those results need to be reported and readily accessible to be questioned. The evolutionary community have consistently been rejecting, up until recently, acceptance of direct debate with those of us who are religiously minded. Hence, there are a lot of people like yourself who have such ridiculous beliefs that those of us who are who believe in a deity, believe in fairies or stuff like that. No. What an irresponsible and immature way of seeing things, especially from people who, when we, anti-evolutionists, challenge you to a debate, you are chicken out. You guys have no awareness how far those of us who are religious have also an awareness of science. And you neglect that the fathers of science have all been religious people. Gregor Mendel, Copernicus, Louis Pasteur, who by the way was a Protestant minister. Isaac Newton was, if you research Isaac Newton's biography, he was more interested in spiritualism and spell casting than in science. His scientific principles, he just discovered them by chance while trying to develop some spells. I would like to challenge you. I finally found an atheist who's willing to scientifically debate the evidence of evolution with me, and I'm not going to point him out. We're doing a good job. But most of you atheists out there are the very ones who have been hypocritically refusing to debate with us. You have been consistently, instead of using science to debate with us, most of you have just succumbed to the ad hominem attacks. Attacking us with such vile disrespect that we have not unwarranted, for we have not quite disrespected you either. You believe what you believe. I believe you guys are wrong, but because of that, I'm not the one judging you, as you are the ones who judge us and infantilize us. It's time we had a true debate, and let's make it public. What is the truth about evolution? Really a concoction, not a concoction in a laboratory of the amino acids that Miller claimed to have done and proved to be a failure, but a concoction of certain lies devised by certain movements who do not feel it convenient to believe in a creator. Your argument is strongly anti-religious, presenting those of us who are religious